we doing an anonymous throwdown intro?
Yeah.
Let's do it. We're the anonymous throwdown. Yeah, welcome back to the anonymous throwdown, baby. We're back after a long hiatus after we were berated for being completely correct about Suicide Squad. We are back to actually talk about Suicide Squad and how Sefton Hill is one incompetent mofo, and also Arkham Shadows too, and maybe a few other topics as well. So have you guys read the Bloomberg report about Suicide Squad and how they lost $200 million?
Yeah, bro. It's not just Sefton Hill. Come on. Don't give him all the smoke. It's everybody. It is the whole organization, top to bottom, executives all the way down to the bottom. And the thing that's okay, so we should quickly recap what's in the report. But let me just first say I have to get this off my chest. The craziest thing about the entire article, I could not believe this, is WB was literally quoted as saying they thought after they had seen the game that it was going to be a $1 billion game. They thought they played Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League, and they said, you know what, guys, this is going to make $1 billion. This is going to be one of the best gaming franchises of all time. They literally thought that. And so that's why I just made this clarification. We can't put all the blame on Sefton Hill. All these people are incompetent. Yes. Every single one of them, especially the executives, more than anything else. Because Sefton Hill, to his credit, he's made good games. Okay, Sefton Hill has made good games. He made Batman Arkham City. He made Batman Arkham City. He made Batman Arkham Knight. The executives have never done anything right, ever. They've always sucked. Anyway, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hijack this. I don't want to already get into it. But
no, I want to talk about that too, because that is one thing that is pretty funny, that WB thought that Suicide Squad, the game, was going to be like $1 billion franchise when their movies haven't even hit $1 billion yet. Like literally, they made Suicide Squad, the first one in 2016, that got like $700 million. And then the second one only made like $150 million, which lost them like $100 million.
Do you want to know why that is?
Yeah.
I don't even think an Arkham game has made $1 billion. I really don't. $1 billion for a game to make is ridiculous. That's like Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 level.
By itself, probably.
The reason why is because they're like, well, all these other games as a service games make $1 billion. Look at Fortnite. Look at Warzone. Look at this. Look at that. They're so freaking clueless that they don't understand that the superhero game genre does not work in a games as a service, live service looter shooter format. It just doesn't. But they don't get that. So they looked at the earnings reports for Fortnite and they're like, we should do that. We can be Fortnite. That's how freaking dumb these people are. That's how much they don't understand video games. They're all freaking boomer corporate finance bros that run these companies, and they're so lost.
Mm-hmm.
So lost.
What do you think about it? What do you think about that, Jake? What do you think about WB trying to make them $1 billion franchise through the gaming department?
So first, let me ask you this. When you boot up a Batman game or a Spider-Man game or a superhero game or just any general narrative-driven IP, what are you most excited for outside of like playing as that character? Like, what is it that you're going into really antsy to experience?
The world and the story.
The story in the world.
The story in the world. Yeah, that's like the main thing that I usually go in. Like I want to traverse the world and then like interact with the side missions throughout the world that's actually there.
Yeah, you want to get immersed in a story. And Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League completely throws that out the window and is trying to mimic Fortnite and trying to mimic live service games like Destiny, which Sefton Hill didn't play. He's acknowledged, like, I didn't actually play any of these other games. And ultimately, I was so baffled reading through this article, like trying to just understand what's going on. The biggest takeaway that I took, and yeah, I'm with you, Kobe. I'll give Sefton Hill some credit. He's done some great work as a creative director.
Yeah.
But I think that we're learning that he's not a very good writer because Arkham Knight, one of the weakest aspects of that game was the story. Most people across the board will acknowledge, Under the Red Hood was shoehorned in there. It definitely didn't have the quality of something like Arkham City. It was a big step down narratively. Now, it's still good. I think it's still a really decent story, but it's by far the weakest of the three. And also, he had the two previous games that had a lot of great build-up to go off of. Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League has no nuance, no character development, nothing redeeming about it. It's a rage bait story. So it's a rage bait story with no character development. And so you have Deadshot and Harley Quinn who aren't likable, never change, never like improve as characters or anything. And now they're acting like they're teasing, actually the Justice League might not be dead. And we're all like, yeah, Sefton, we knew you weren't going to kill them off. That was never like the thing. We never like it's as obvious as Jason Todd being the Arkham Knight. Like, we knew you weren't going to kill the Arkhamverse Justice League. So it's a story that just doesn't work. It sounds like from this report that he's like just randomly cut random parts of the script for no real reason because he's a perfectionist, I guess. So I think what we're learning really is that Sefton Hill, without a strong writer like Paul Dini, is actually a fairly weak storyteller. So that was kind of my large takeaway from it. And without a strong story, a superhero game doesn't work. We saw that with Gotham Knights. It was a pretty okay story, but nothing that really stood out. We saw it with Marvel's Avengers. But every time a superhero game has a great story, even if the gameplay is just okay, like Guardians of the Galaxy, it works because that's what people are there for. So that's why it failed. And I cannot believe that Warner Brothers looked at this and thought it was going to be a $1 billion franchise. And it does show that all they did was look at the user interface and said, hey, damage numbers like in Fortnite. Guys, we did it.
I think they saw the cutscenes is what happened. I think they were looking at the cutscenes. They're like, this is like top tier. Oh, over the top. This is like going to be next generation stuff. And they're like, this is like movie like whatever got them. I don't even know if it was actually the gameplay. I think it was more like the story aspect of it. But even still, in my opinion, I'm giving Sefton Hill a lot of heat because, well, there was also a little line in the report that said that he would literally wait weeks upon like almost months for the game to be checked on, or like certain things to be checked on. So it would bottleneck to a certain point where now they're like not even being able to work on certain things because the person on top hasn't checked anything. So it's like Sefton Hill, the way he ran this game, the way he basically took it from stones, he was going to make a puzzle solving multiplayer game after Arkham Knight. Like, what the fuck are we doing? What are we doing?
That's the other thing. He should have left Rocksteady after Arkham Knight. If he didn't want to do a DC game, and I'm not saying that studios can't do different things or branch out. And who knows, maybe it was going to be really cool. Maybe it would have been Rocksteady's like Ratchet and Clank or something to pad out releases. But after Suicide Squad, I can say with certainty that Sefton Hill was just over the Arkhamverse, didn't really want to touch it again. And he should have been out of there. He should have handed off the reins to someone that was really passionate about doing a Superman game or something of that caliber. I just am so stunned that it was Sefton Hill's fault for a lot of it. Like, I couldn't believe the article.
And Sefton Hill, he wanted a live service. Like that Stones game was going to be a multiplayer, most likely a live service game from what we know. And then they pivoted to the Suicide Squad game, which was going to be, of course, what got into what it turned into now. But the fact that they switched to the Suicide Squad game and then wanted to release that in 2019, like, I want to see what this game looked like in 2019, 2020, and 2021. Like, this game could not have been, I mean, like, I just don't even know. I'm baffled every time I think about what kind of like led up to this game's release and how bad the actual setup was for this. Because they could have done so much with this, like, this little concept of Kill the Justice League. They could have done a lot here with it.
Well, and this is just more back to the point that I made before we got on the hit record when we were talking earlier about how we're 6 months ahead of the curve on all this stuff. So, like, we were saying and warning people that Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is not going to be good. We were saying that before the game came out, when it was not a consensus opinion to say that. You were not allowed to say that. You were going to get dogpiled on Twitter, which we all did. We would take turns getting dogpiled.
I got blocked
as far
by
as
devs. I got blocked by writers and devs.
But not only that, it was just the dogpile from the fans. These people who were dogpiling us, they're all gone. Not one of them is playing the game, yet alone tweeting or defending the game in any way. They all have disappeared. And the same is true, by the way, of Sefton Hill. What did we say? You go to our Twitter of what I know Marcel and I tweeted this, Jake, you probably did too. Months ago, I was saying that Sefton Hill deserves most of the blame for this game. He was there for 90% of the development. He left at the last minute. He got off the Titanic as the bow was just going to get under the water. It all was already sunk, and he hopped off the ship. And people are like, oh, it's not Sefton Hill's fault. He didn't do it. It's like, go ahead, Marcel. I'm sorry.
No. Well, I'm going to add to your point. He left before the first official gameplay release, like the full-length gameplay release of the actual Suicide Squad. So go ahead and continue. I'm just saying that's when he left.
Right, and the game was in development for, 8 years? And so he left a year, years, some change. So, I mean, he was there 85% of the way through. He was there from the conception to the story development to overseeing the edits. And he was really overseeing everything and approving everything, as you said, such to the point that he was a bottleneck for all the developers, that everything had to be approved by him. And so he had his fingerprint really over every single aspect of the game. And as Jake highlighted, I think it's very evident in the ways in which the game works. The gameplay is pretty good. It's not definitely not as good as Arkham, but it's pretty solid. It's fun. It's addicting gameplay. There's not really any negatives I have to say about the gameplay. And that's very Sefton Hill. Like, that's very classic Sefton Hill. The graphics are really quite good, which is very classic Sefton Hill. The open world is completely empty, also classic Sefton Hill. And then when we go to the story perspective, also, as Jake highlighted, the fact that it's pretty classic Sefton Hill. It's not classic Paul Dini, but it is Sefton Hill. Sefton Hill's fingerprints are on the story. So I think that the article really corroborated, again, what we were saying from the very beginning, that nobody was believing, that everybody was ratioing me on Twitter for saying, which is that, hey, guys, Sefton Hill is the point person. He is we can't let him off the hook. And people are getting all mad about that. And this article has come forth and corroborated what we have been saying for quite a while.
Yeah, it's sad to see where they're at now, honestly, like the way that they came from. I mean, they could have easily pivoted to something really unique and special, but I mean, even their first concept to whatever multiplayer game they were doing, Stones, whatever puzzle solving game, like, did they really think that we wanted a whole ass game of like Riddler like puzzles? Is that what they really think we wanted as fans over here? Like, what the fuck are they thinking, bro?
I guarantee
there were like 400 trophies isn't enough. We gotta pump those up. Those are rookie numbers.
Gotta do 9 hours of that shit.
Yeah.
Yes. I guarantee we're going to find out that tank battles were in the game too.
100%.
They were going to do it for Suicide Squad. They almost had King Shark riding around in a tank shooting around at people. That shit would have made sense. Like, what
you guys like Deathstroke in a tank and Arkham Knight? Now we've got,
Harley Quinn in a
tank. Harley in a tank. You get a tank. You get a tank. You get a tank. So, yeah, is there any final thoughts? Because I really want to talk about Arkham VR.
Okay.
But, obviously, I don't mean to cut this short if we want to keep talking about it. Maybe just to recap, like, final thoughts on this, Jake.
I have one more question that I think is a good segue.
Yep.
What does Rocksteady need to do next in order to regain some public favor? Because they've lost all of their goodwill. Like, you look at Twitter, you look at their marketing, no one is happy with them right now, and understandably so, because they just released a game that was promoted as live service, but then they dropped season 1, and it was like just even worse than the base game by a long shot. It was so bad. I mean, my review, my initial review, I gave a 7.5, which in retrospect was way too high, but I gave it that because I was like, gameplay's solid. Clearly the story's not over. I'm willing to give it some leeway.
Wait. A 7.5?
No, hear me out. After Season of the Joker, it's a 4. I'm not even...
That's amazing. Yeah, that shit was pretty garbage, bro.
I no longer play the game. But in any sense, I'm not happy with Rocksteady. No one's really happy with Rocksteady. And I know that it's not like the developers' fault. I know that most of them were just doing what Sefton Hill and the executives were telling them to do. But, I mean, the like reputation they had of anything they release is going to be a banger is gone. So what does their next game need to be in order to regain public faith? And personally, I think that they could go one of two ways. One is that they just do another Batman Arkham game, which is very safe. You just replicate the Arkham Knight mechanics. You tell like an Arkham Origins sequel where you're dual playing with Robin and, you have the origin of Prometheus or something. And it's just a solid game that they spend 2 or 3 years working on and releasing as soon as possible. Or if they want to be considered like a top tier A-list studio again, I think they got to do something a little riskier, like Superman or The Flash. But with that being said, after Suicide Squad, that would be a tall order. Again, the one piece of credence I'll give them is that Sefton Hill is no longer there calling the shots. It sounds like Warner Brothers is maybe open to letting them do their own thing again. So I could see a Superman or Flash game working out really well, but I would personally say a Batman game is the safest bet. What do you guys think on that?
Oh, I don't want them to do anything. Bro, I don't know. Like I see like the devs there are obviously still there. Apparently they're working on like Hogwarts Legacy Director's Cut and then like something else. Like
No, they've
they're
literally
big.
been demoted. They're demoted to what WB Montreal was demoted to. They
Yeah.
basically are just a support studio. They're an outsourced studio. They're probably making like plants and like chairs for a game. Like it's sad, but that's really what they like. They went from being one of the best studios in the world to being a support studio to like, hey, Avalanche makes money with Harry Potter. You go make the chairs in Hogwarts now. Like design the chairs and design the couches. You know, like that's what they do now. So
I think their only option would be to be Arkham. Like it's kind of sad to say that they're trapped in like the Arkham formula for them, but I mean, if most of the devs, like if you read the article, most of the devs didn't want to even, they were like shocked when they're like, we're making this shit. Why are we making Suicide Squad? Why are we making like a Arkham or like a multiplayer game? Why is Captain Boomerang shooting guns? This makes no sense. We should be,
sorry to interrupt one more time. Did you see the
or they could easily go ahead.
sorry to interrupt, I didn't mean to interrupt, but did you see the part as well where they would hire people and they didn't know what the game was? And so they probably moved their family to they're based in London, so they might have moved from different parts of Europe or maybe even the US. And then they got there. Can you imagine after Arkham Knight and you're like, I'm about to work at Rocksteady, one of the best studios in the world. And then next thing you know, you're designing fucking Captain Boomerang. Like, you know, like imagine how disappointed you would be. Really?
Yeah, the level designer, you're like, I can't wait to build like a Metallo boss fight for a Superman.
Yep.
And then it's like, okay, we want you to design a level where Toyman asks you to go collect shards by shooting up purple zits. Have fun.
It's so sad because it's almost
horrible.
like it's like you got hired to a restaurant and then they're like, wait a minute, we're not going to give you the recipe yet. Just wing it real quick. All right. Throw the lettuce on, wherever, throw the tomato on, and we don't care how you do it. Just flop it all on there. Grill the fucking patty for about 5 seconds and then throw it on the burger. We don't care if it's raw. Just toss it out there.
It's a little like that, but I'd actually argue that it would be like going to work for the best pizza joint in town, and then you show up and they're like, hey, we're actually switching to like very mid burgers. So
burgers that nobody's gonna eat.
Yep. They wanted pizza and they're getting.
Oh my god! And then, but then everybody's gonna walk by the door of the establishment and be like, "Your burgers suck," and just tell you that every day, and like, and that's your reward for your work of coming into work every day. It's just, so I mean, that's the part that it does suck, but it's also just the brutal reality of it. Like, fans are gonna like give their honest opinion. I mean, I never have nor would like at a developer with my opinion of the game. I just never would do that. I'm not trying to flood their DMs or their inbox, but at the same point, I am going to give my opinion. I know other fans do that. They'll tweet them and whatnot, which I don't think you should do at all. But in terms of just the general backlash, I mean, the game did deserve poor reviews. Let's just be honest. I mean, I don't think we can sugarcoat that. It deserved to be panned. In fact, it should have been panned more. I don't think it's a 6 out of 10 as many developers gave it. I think it's actually closer to around a 3, if I'm being honest. Here's my thought about this, and I've thought a lot about this, that what their next step is, because on the one hand, a bigger splash that they would make would be Superman or Flash to announce that. It would make a bigger splash. They've already done 3 Arkham games. They've kind of, I do feel a little bit like they've done a lot of what they wanted to do with the franchise. There are some new innovations they could make, like having a populated Gotham, but I think that they really are going to struggle with actually pulling off a Superman game and a Flash game. And the thing is like, do we really trust them to actually pull off Superman after this game? I mean, I don't, Arkham, I do think that even if the creative geniuses have left and whatnot, I still think they can do Arkham. The code is there. The foundation is there. The side mission formula, the main mission formula, like there is kind of a formula there. If they bring in a good writer, to do the story, they could have a great game. Maybe even they could make, I feel like they could actually make the best Arkham game ever if they bring in a phenomenal writer.
All they need to do is, honestly, in my opinion, like for Arkham, just reboot it from the beginning, or just make a whole new franchise, like
almost like Call of Duty did. I mean, you look at Call of Duty, and they're redoing Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 3, and at first I was like, that's kind of a bad idea, but it's worked phenomenally. I mean, the games have sold very well. The fans love it. Most of it, of course, we're Call of Duty fans. We complain about everything, but for the most part, fans are happy with it and buying the games. And I think you're right. Honestly, they could reboot and do Arkham Asylum, and we would eat it up. I mean, it just expand it, more bosses, more side missions. Yeah, totally.
And if the fast turnaround, I mean, imagine going back to a more confined, smaller scale Arkham game, being able to pump it out in 2 years rather than, years that's industry standard now for whatever game. And that could be a faster flip for the reputation. Yeah, no, I like that.
So, I mean, in an ideal world, make like a Superman game. Imagine the splash that would make, even with their diminished reputation. It would still make a big splash, and people would be very excited about that. They just can't. I just don't think they can pull it off. I really don't. I don't think that they're going to also be willing to invest the money to get the people to pull it off.
Yeah.
I just don't. I don't see it.
I say have WB pull a smart one real quick. Go to Insomniac. Get on your fucking knees and just pray for them to make a Flash or Superman game in the same vibe as Spider-Man. And I guarantee you they'll fucking do it in 4 years. Insomniac would probably pump it out in a couple years. So I think Insomniac would be better choice for Superman and Flash than honestly Rocksteady right now, especially this current day Rocksteady. And here's another thing, just last little point about Sefton Hill and Jamie Walker. They're at 100 Star Games now, and they just got bought out by Xbox, who's infamous for shutting down indie studios that just made their first popular game. So I don't see Sefton Hill. I mean, if he has to really pull out all the stocks to make sure that he actually is going to keep that studio afloat, because it's so weird. I don't know. I think that 100 Star Games thing, that new development studio that they have, it's such a spit in the face to not only Rocksteady. Of course, it's a spit in the face of WB, but it just feels like more a spit in the face to Rocksteady. And they did it before I think Suicide Squad even came out. It was just so weird. That's just such a weird decision, because I don't trust them at all for a game anyway. Sefton Hill and Jamie Walker, they're the ones that made Suicide Squad. So it's
Well, going back to that food analogy, it would be you're making crap burgers, and then your boss who's making you make crap burgers is like, all right, I'm going to go open a new pizza joint down the street. See ya.
Yeah,
exactly. Here. All right, we can move on.